Krissi's actually the one that you and her are very similar.
Okay.
The one about to join. So there's, as far as I know, there's going to be 5 of us, possibly 6. And 2 of you are very alike, and the other 2 are very alike. And that's what intrigued me to even want to do this. Was I think you were like one of the first ones from Ohio I talked to. But then when I'll wait for Krissi to join. But like, yeah, when I was talking to her, I'm like, your story sounds like so familiar to me. And then the other 2 I'm waiting on, they were actually trafficked together by the same people.
Okay. But they don't know each other, right?
They're not like, no, they're like, friends on Facebook kind of thing. But no, they're not like friends. They're not
Right.
like in recovery together, but they were in addiction together and trafficked together.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, man, if I can get everybody in the same room somehow. And Krissi, your video's not on yet. I think you're unmuted though. I don't see a little. We're getting there. Right. That's why I wanted to start out at 10:30 instead of 11, just to give us more time.
Oh, yeah.
And then plus Miss Boudoir over here.
Well, actually, that girl messaged me last night and she was like, said something about 3 o'clock and then said something about 4 o'clock. And I was like, well,
So
actually,
we're not rushing anymore then, is what you're
no,
saying.
I
Okay.
was like, well, actually, we are set up for noon, but if you want to do it later, like, that's cool. And she's like, yeah, that's cool. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Okay, good. Then we definitely have time. I literally just finished a 2-hour podcast with somebody, smoked a quick cigarette, and then started sending out invites. And we're not even done. Like, that girl needs a part 2. We just got into 2018 when she got sober from cannabis.
Okay.
Like, so because she does a whole thing with Instagram, with Plant Curing is her name, and she always does lives and all about positive cannabis and stuff like that. So I'll be actually live with her tomorrow. And remember that girl Tara that was on our 4 people that smokes. That's how I met this girl originally. So they're doing a live tomorrow to focus on the show Dope Sick, and I'm gonna hop on that live with them and to talk about the show Dope Sick with them.
That show was so good.
I know. Oh my god. We have time to talk about it because that show I watched every single week. Like I didn't binge watch it. I had to watch it week to week. I didn't want to wait to get any wait to find out because we did find out the hard way, about what Oxy, does or
Yeah.
did. But yeah, I mean watching that show, it made me almost feel better in a weird kind of sense of like, okay, well, number one, I'm not alone, but number two, like they were trying to like hurt us in a sense,
Isn't
like
it crazy? Like, and that's something I've been following like for years as the whole Purdue Pharma and the whole Oxycontin thing. And I'm trying to like push them and lying about them. And I'll be like talking to people about it. And they're like, this bitch is weird and crazy. Like, and I'm like, no, this is real. This really happened.
I think the most mind blowing thing from that show that's the most relevant to non addicts is, hey, did you ever go to the hospital and the doctor asked you on this scale 1 to 10 of your pain levels? Everyone knows that scale of the happy faces and the sad faces. But I didn't know. Did you know that that was Purdue until the show? I didn't know
I,
that Purdue implemented that just as a way to push Oxy. But it makes total sense now. Like it makes complete sense now. But in the moment, no, I had no idea that
yeah,
that's what was going on. Like
crazy.
just to even think about shit like that, it blew my mind. And the HBO, there's a really good documentary came out over the summer called Crime of the Century. And that Crime of the Century documentary really focuses in on how the FDA dude lied about all that shit. And
Hmm.
how the FDA, that one guy was in the motel for 3 days writing up how it was going to pass Oxy and this, that, and the other. So this documentary, that's why it's called Crime of the Century, because it obviously was a huge crime, but by then the entire country was hooked on Oxy, and There's Krissi about to join. The whole country was hooked on Oxy, and now we're just stuck with it, even though they lied about it. You know, they didn't take it off the market. It's still in the market. Yeah, it's OPs. It's still in the market though, and Roxy's still in the market, and Roxy's are Oxys with an R.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
You're not
So
wrong.
I preferred Roxy's over Oxy because I had less of a hangover. And they were cheaper, and you could crush them.
Yeah.
Because when I discovered that shit, it was 2008-9, right around that time of when it was changing over. Does she need to be invited in? No, she should be in.
Me? Yeah, I didn't have to do real
Krissi?
Oxy very long.
Hey, I don't see you yet, though.
Yeah, I don't see
Yeah,
nobody.
because I'm not seeable yet, but I wanted to make sure I had good service in my house wherever I am. So I'm not going to stay right here in this spot.
Okay.
Is this a good spot though?
I can hear you. I don't know the spot you're in because I can't see it, but I can hear it. And
it's a mess.
yeah, I think it's an Ohio thing because Ashlee cut in and out of me like 19 times too on like her 3 interviews. I think this is Ashlee's number 4 time on the show.
Gang, gang.
You had your solo one that was a 2-hour one, and you're like, I have some more I have to tell you that I didn't get it. I'm like, we talked for 2 hours. What do you mean you didn't get into? I'm like, all right. Then we did that part 2. And that was another hour. So, and I'm glad you two are the first 2 to join since Krissi, when I was interviewing you, I kept saying, man, your story sounds so familiar. The other one on here already is the one that made it sound so familiar. Oh yeah, you both got married in high school. You both ran away.
That's crazy. That is wild.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like when I was talking to you, I'm like, I heard this story. You're getting married, and because you got married your senior year, right, Ashlee?
Yeah.
And you ran away to do it.
Yeah.
And
That's so funny.
And called my mom after, like, what's up? I just got married. And she was like, what the fuck?
Dude, are you me?
And I said to Krissi, I was like, did you drive 3 hours to do it? She was like, 9. How did you know? I'm like, oh my God, that's what Ashlee.
She must have went to Kentucky.
Right before Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you did go down that way though.
It was down south, yeah.
That is so funny. It's funny now looking back. I mean, not in the moment. And I'm sure, hey Nicole, we all know what you all have in common is Ohio. You're all born and raised in Ohio, addicts in Ohio. Now, Ashlee, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
I'm Ashlee. I live in Tiffin, Ohio. It's in Northwest Ohio. I'm like 40 minutes from like Findlay. My drug of choice is heroin or opiates, I guess, because pills were my thing before I got to heroin. Also, Xanax is a big one. Right now, I've been in recovery since August 7th of 2019. And I don't know what else you want me to say.
Okay, no, that's basically the real basics to start off. And Nicole, let's start off with you then. Where are you from? Drug of choice, that kind of stuff like Ashlee did.
So I'm from Johnstown, but I ran in Columbus. My drug of choice is heroin and crack cocaine. But really it just depended on the day. So whatever I could get on the day, that was my drug of choice. So yeah.
And how long have you been in recovery now?
Almost 4.5 years.
4.5 years. Okay. And Krissi.
My name's Krissi. I'm from Dayton. I grew up in Riverside, and then I live 35 minutes west now of Dayton. My drug of choice is amphetamines, alcohol. I used to do pills, but when I got introduced to amphetamines, I kind of got out of that at a younger age, so I was pretty lucky.
Good.
No, I was.
The other thing I just realized you all have in common is sex work. is something because Ashlee, she told me that part too, how you were going to Chicago to, meet people. And I know, yeah, I knew you were going to react to that. And Nicole, you were mostly around Columbus, right? Like you were pretty centralized. And if we can get Molly on, I'm not sure, but Molly also, you and her haven't really spoke that much in recovery, but unfortunately by the same people you were trafficked.
Yeah.
Because Molly reached out to me when she saw your episode. And then, that's how we started talking. And then she eventually did hers too last month. Did you ever get to go to Chicago?
Me?
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm. I stayed in like Columbus, there, like Lancaster, pretty much that. And then, I mean, there was like small town business that I was sent to.
That you were sent to. Now, Krissi, when you would go to Chicago, were you going to Chicago in addiction for sex work also?
Yeah. Well, I never really looked at it like that because I wasn't in the club working, you know. But recently, I'm like, holy shit! You know what Chatterbait is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've met actually a boyfriend I used to date, and I would meet guys or girls and off of that website, but we would go there and set up shop and film. Um, yeah, and I
Okay.
never really thought of it like sex work, but it's stuff that I get paid for. Go to Chicago for that, but when I in 2013 when I was bartending at the strip club, I was also meeting with guys after, before even, for a few hundred here or there, depending. So, and that's stuff
Yeah.
like I had actually forgotten about until like after our conversation initially. So many things came, like how I got like in recovery in 2014 when I realized I had a problem. I don't know. I'm always in new recovery because I'm always figuring out new shit about myself that's got to recover.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's one of those things where it is an ongoing. That's why, and I respect people that say recovered. You go to meetings and you hear people say I'm a recovered alcoholic. I can respect that. It's in the book. It says recovered like 15 times. But I will not say, because I am constantly learning new shit and constantly changing how that I'm working this. I think if I was to do the same recovery for that many years, I would be bored to tears. I need to change things up. I need to mix it up. I just can't be dangerous about it, right? I can't do something dangerous like start hanging out with people that are getting high just to prove to myself I can do it. I don't need to do that kind of thing. But
Right.
it's just a matter of understanding that there's not one way of being sober. There's not one way of doing this. Like this would be so frowned upon 3 years ago. Like when I first got in recovery, I talked about, doing this like with my sponsor, like my first sponsor, like, hey, I would love to talk to people like this, like a podcast. I can just talk to people. He goes, oh, that's breaking tradition. You can never do that. You can't talk about this. I'm like, I can't talk about it. I need to talk. I want to talk, and now COVID, I think, changed everything for the good in this, because I didn't know that there was such a huge recovery network, on social medias. Like I met two of you on Facebook and one of you on TikTok, and it's just a matter of just being on there and seeing people posting about their journeys now. It would have been so against traditions years ago. And I think COVID made everyone so bored at home and so trapped, and we didn't have meetings to go to anymore. So we felt like we had to talk somewhere, because I think talking is what keeps us sober. It's, like more than anything. And Nicole, you're shaking your head a lot down there because you've been in this more, just long as not longer than any of us, 4.5 years. Um, do you feel like yours is constantly changing?
So honestly, I feel like when it comes to like drugs and alcohol, I can say like I've recovered from that. But when it comes to like still working on like my habits and actions and getting out of like the stinking thinking part aspect, I'm still recovering. I'm still growing. I still need to learn, so the growth comes with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And Krissi, I'm seeing that a lot with your TikToks and how they've been changing. Like it's almost like I definitely have been seeing you grow more and more. Even since we put out your episode, it's almost like your comfortability skyrocketed.
Yeah, especially with like people wanting to know, like I don't know, people have always reached out to me like, hey, and said things about me, but now they're like, holy shit.
Now,
Some people want to be nosy, but some people are like, holy shit, like I've been through that. Or
yeah, I wasn't sure if Katie was going to be able to join. Now, I didn't really get into it with Nicole. I'm sure it happened in your line of work or you, Ashlee, either. But Krissi, you also dealt with a lot of like sexual assault trauma too, right?
yeah, and physical abuse for like since the time I was born. I was born into a domestic violence situation, and domestic violence is a huge part of my life, and it's like crazy to see how it's changed, like how it's treated. um it really impacts like your executive functioning. Until you get out of that, it's hard to heal. So I was constantly my whole life like finding, it's like addictions to like not only that but chaos and wrongful men and women even, and you know what I mean. But
It's when the chaos calms down that it gets scary because you get addicted to the madness of the chaos.
yeah, it was like my norm. Like, I see my dad tie up a woman and he would never lay a hand on me. I've seen him tie up a woman and beat her like while I walked in. But these are things that, we just keep inside and, wonder why the heck at 13, 14, and even our own age.
Is that why you wanted to get married so young and leave?
Yeah, my mom couldn't wait for me to leave. My mom had me at 36. I don't know if she meant to have me, but my parents met and they knew each other a short time before they got pregnant. And so she always wanted me gone. And so my high school sweetheart, well, he wasn't my sweetheart. I was just cheating on my sweetheart with him. He was like my bad guy, take me away. He
And
joined the army when I was a senior.
yep, and that is somebody else's story. And Ashlee, I believe you also were trying to escape your senior year. And did you like a fella in the army or the military as well when you were 18 in high school?
Yeah, it was right when he got out of the military though. He had just got discharged. But he had like hella money in the bank. So I was in high school and I was like, that's so cool, Yeah.
What
So
were you running from at 18 then in senior year? Were you just running towards the money or running from something?
at that time it really was just I was still just having fun, I thought, and that was when I had just started doing like perks and stuff. So I really, really liked them and I needed more money to do them. And
Yeah,
yeah,
let's figure out the years now. So, how old are you, Ashlee?
right now,
Yeah,
30.
30. Okay, so it was 12 years ago, so it was 2008, 2009 when you got married. Krissi, when did you get married at 18?
2009. I'm
I didn't
31.
know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And Nicole, how old are you again?
I'm 32.
Oh shit. Okay, so you all three of you really went through it at the same time
Yeah.
in the same
That's so cool.
vicinity with the same. Now, Nicole, were you
Same
running from
drugs.
something? Were you running from something at 18 as well?
So, I guess like I got pregnant when I was 17 in high school. So, I finished high school online, but I wasn't really running from anything. I think like the most impactful thing from my like younger years would be like my dad and addiction. So wanting to know why he left and doing things to see like, okay, so this is what he's doing. Why is it more important than his family? So just, I don't think it's running from anything. It's more like running towards something to figure out why he left.
You were running towards trying to find a solution or find an answer. You were looking for answers. You were running to look for answers And me and the other two were just like, fuck it, I'm out. I got my I got my GI Bill over here, and Chrissy's like, I got my new man military, and I'm gonna go follow him.
That BAH and all that.
And Chrissy, you landed in New York State though, right? You didn't stay in Ohio. You left the state for a little bit.
Yeah, I left after I graduated. I moved to New York.
With that
upstate
guy.
New York.
And then
Yeah,
how
with
long?
Ethan.
And then you came back, but you got right back into drugs again when you came back. Like, and is it because of your work that got you surrounded by drugs and alcohol?
No, I was on drugs when I was in New York because I had met these friends, and that's when I got introduced to like ecstasy, Molly. I tried heroin, but I had snorted it, so it wasn't really my thing. But I didn't have access to pain pills or Percocets or Xanax anymore. So when I came back to Ohio, I had access to all the Xanax and everything I want. I came back to Ohio a year after I moved there in 2009 when he deployed to Afghanistan.
When did you both get divorced? If you both got married in 2009, when did you both get divorced? Because spoiler alert, everybody, they both didn't make it. They're both still not married.
We're best friends, but
But how long? Go ahead.
I got separated in 2017 and moved out to on my own, and we got officially divorced in 2019.
Ashlee, yours happened quicker though, right?
Well, we separated in like officially in 16, and then he had divorced me finally in 18.
So nope, not as quick as I thought. Yeah, that's so you both went on. Now, Krissi, were you getting drunk and high with your partner too? Was he like, and not, were you guys enabling each other? Because I know, Ashlee, you guys went on a run together, which is why it ended. So yours ended really bad with like domestic, fucking violence while driving, right? That was you. That was hit while you were driving.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody that was with their husband that hit them while they were driving, then divorced them subsequently after, or left them subsequently after. Okay, that was you. Now, did you have to deal with the same kind of shit, Krissi?
Yeah, my ex and I, there's a lot of snow. There was nights that I had actually punched him and he was on top of me and his blood was all over me and the neighbors called the cops.
I wonder why.
Yeah, they were just looking out, My dogs were in the bathtub. My pit bulls are in the bathtub like this. It was horrible. And there was a few of those times, just even with just alcohol involved.
Yeah, alcohol is the worst drug out there when it comes to, 'cause it's so acceptable, so easy to get. Everybody's okay with somebody saying, I'm going to go drink. Everyone, oh, have a good time. It's the weekend. You deserve it. So that kind of, yeah. And then but then the problem is we overdrink way much when we're alcoholics. Now, Nicole, you didn't really have those kind of relationships because you were being trafficked from when 19 is when that started?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. And that went on until you were how old again?
28.
19 to 28. But you had different relationships with different traffickers over the years, right? You bounced around a bit.
Yeah, so like when I first got pulled into being trafficked, I was actually dating someone in Columbus, and he's the one that introduced me to the escort service that I started working for. And then like after that, I didn't really date anyone because he wanted all my money, they wanted all my money, and I was like, what about me? So, yeah, I mean, I had different relations with different traffickers, and even women, you know what I mean? So it's not just men that do that. And yeah, I was pretty violent. I mean, especially if you didn't do what they wanted or brought back as much as they wanted you to.
Yeah. Now, you were part of an escort service. I know, Ashlee, you were part of an escort service too, right? At one point.
No.
No,
I went to Chicago with a dude.
But that dude was taking you to Chicago to meet another dude.
Yeah, to meet other men.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
if you want to call that an escort service, it was just him.
Oh, it was him. Okay, I see what you're saying. And Nicole's was more of like actually like an escort kind of thing. Krissi, is that ever a thing too in the clubs? An escort? I feel like that comes from the clubs. No.
Yeah, well, I was more like I grew up in the strip club. When I was 10, my sister was 17 and had started stripping and then bartending, and she's worked there for since then, till she got on probation. But so I had my 17th birthday in the club, so I'm more protected by the my elders, like, but I would find my own ways to meet up with people.
Yeah, I see what
Like
you're
my
saying.
Like my sister wouldn't let me dance. Like she punched me out in the eye one time, blacked my whole eye when I was 18 trying to get a job. Like so I had to deal with her riffraff. So I couldn't, I don't know.
Now, the other thing, I'm not just going to talk about the bad stuff. I want to talk about good stuff too, because you all have different ways of being sober. You know, Krissi, you use TikTok like a lot. We know, like you know what I mean. But you talk about your stories so openly all the time on TikTok. Like every day is a few posts. And then Ashlee, you deal with the nonprofit, Ohio 4Can. Is that what it is, right? 4Can
Ohio
Ohio.
can for
Okay, Ohio Can 4Can. Okay. And Nicole, you work with what group again? Or
Um,
you?
they're called the Butterflies, and it's a little program you get accepted to after you finish your court programming, which is called Catch Court. So we do meetings every week, we do events once a month, and like we get our kids all together and reach out to that. And then I also like make sure I do donations for like other women in the group that we're in for like their kids, for their grandkids, making sure they have what they need, just putting myself in places that I know I need it, whether it be like on my own or with a group of people.
And I think it's important to kind of show that none of you are like AA big book thumpers, and that's how you're sober today. It's you're all just still sober because of support. You're finding support with social media, and you're finding support in your communities through other kinds of like. What do you guys do in your nonprofit, Ashlee, where you help out?
Well, we have AA meetings, NA meetings, and then we do like all around recovery, like support groups if you're not with the whole higher power thing. We do a lot of fundraising. All of our money goes directly towards helping people in recovery, helping people find recovery, family members. Like for Christmas, we do a lot of Christmas gifts, or we help pay bills for Christmas, all that. Like just pretty much anything we can do to help, like that's what we do.
And they're the ones that helped you get this right this last time, right? They're the ones
Yeah,
that helped you. And then,
yeah. And the 12 steps. I won't I
well,
won't
yeah,
say
12.
yeah, I did work a 12-step program, and actually my sponsor is she runs Ohio Can, so I got lucky and met my sponsor as a sponsor in AA, and then she brought me into Ohio Can, which also helped me, yeah.
Yeah, and Nicole, you found sobriety similar, right?
Yeah.
Where
I have worked the steps, and I used to go to meetings. And I was on the Vivitrol shot, like so all of that my first 2 years of recovery, and now I'm still like in counseling, mental health meds, like making sure I take care of myself and self-care so I can take care of others.
Yeah, I think it's important people to know, like, just because we miss some meetings here and there, it doesn't mean that we're not working our recovery at home. The beautiful thing about when you learn the steps correctly the first time, you'll know how to utilize them for the rest of your life. Even if you relapse. I remember when I relapsed with drinking and I was still doing daily 10 steps every single day. I firmly believe I didn't drink alcoholically for 9 months when I relapsed with drinking because I was so indoctrinated with the steps that I was so concerned with my gratitude list and checking in every single day with what I was doing and how I was doing it. I wasn't drinking daily in that 9 months. It was occasionally, and I was always so just like thinking like I don't want to. And then as soon as I drank alcoholically, I was like, all right, now I got to stop again, kind of deal, because I caught myself right away. And it's about being that self-aware, and that's what the steps kind of teach you, is to be self-aware, is to kind of look within yourself and be self-critical and not get upset when you are like overly critical with yourself, because as addicts, we're empaths, and as addicts, we're also the meanest motherfuckers to ourselves. Way meaner to ourselves than we are to anybody else. Did you work the steps, Krissi? I can't remember. We talked about it a lot, but
No, well, I did when I first in 2014 in the attempt to save my marriage. I went to a program, an AA meeting at my church, but I started doing yoga and I did a metabolism reset. So I detoxed, and that's when I like made cooking my meditation at that point, but then like that kept me sober for a while, and then journaling kept me sober for a while, different things. But I've never worked a program, but I have been self-aware of, when I relapse, like,
anybody that follows your TikToks knows how self-aware you are. Or watches your lives, because she goes live while she's like just doing makeup, and it is I'll stop in just to bust your balls, just to like, because we actually have a conversation when I'm commenting, and then there's the guys, show us your ass. Like, what color are your eyes? As you're looking at her eyes, bro, they're fucking brown right now. What do you mean, what color?
Right now, yeah.
Like,
I want brown eyes so bad.
She's literally this far from the screen, and you're asking what color her eyes are. You're further from your phone as you're typing it. You know what color they are. Stop being weird.
Weird.
Okay. So now, what was now I'm lost. Okay. So I definitely want to cover how you have a lot of similarities. Is there anything that you're curious about each other that, with other parts of Ohio and how things worked in other parts of, is there anything that you want to ask each other? Curiosity questions when it came to what was it like this place? What was it like with this? What was it like with that? Like that kind of thing. Because that I find interesting myself personally.
Do you guys have kids?
This episode is sponsored by MJ's Progress Not Perfection Meeting Center Association. We are in our meeting center where we do all these meetings for mental health and addiction. I can do this podcast anywhere. I can do this at home. I can do this in a closet. I can do this in a basement. It doesn't matter. All I need is somebody else to talk to about addiction and recovery. What I can't do from anywhere is help people with their addiction and their mental health problems. So if you can help out, we do have a Venmo, we have a Cash App, we have a PayPal, we have an address you can send a check to, and all the money that gets donated goes towards rent, goes towards keeping the lights on, and goes towards keeping the internet on. So please, if you can give $5, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Anything you can is so appreciated. And if you are a local business, if you're a national business, whatever, and you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can reach out to me and we can talk about how you can be a sponsor. But I'll let you get back to the episode.
Yeah, so I have she'll be 14 in March, a 14-year-old daughter, and then I have a 6-month-old daughter. So
yeah, you have one from high school right before you got an addiction, and if I'm not mistaken, somebody took the parental rights, took over pretty quickly for you.
Yeah, so her dad has custody of her, but so since I've been back in her life, I have really, because I worked with a sponsor, because I worked the steps, my thinking was ease yourself into it, because she might tell you she's okay with you back around, but feelings might come up. So ease yourself into it. For 4 years, I have done the duck waddle for them, and really not just for them, but making sure that she's okay with me back in her life. And if she ever has feelings arise, she can talk to me about it. So we have an agreement that I get her every other weekend and every other Wednesday. Well, my weekend falls on Christmas and he doesn't want to give her to me. So I was like, okay. pray about it, just let it go, get her the day after Christmas. And I spoke with my daughter and asked her, like, do you want more time with me? You know what I mean? Because we have a really open relationship, and yes, I'm her mom, but it's like a really strong friendship too. And that's what I love about our relationship. So I'm in the process of getting shared parenting because I feel like I have proven over and over again for 4.5 years that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm here, that I will always be here for her. And yes, I made mistakes, but I can't change it.
Yeah,
So
if anything, you're showing her that it's so people can mess up and then redeem themselves and still be great people.
right. So her and her dad were talking, and he's like, you wouldn't hold a grudge if like your kid's dad just left them. And she's like, no, I wouldn't, because my kids would need their father. I would get over my feelings for my kids. And I'm like, you tell him. You teach
A
your
very smart 14-year-old right there.
right.
Self-awareness. Your kids absorb what you are. Like, you got to keep it real.
How old your oldest, Krissi?
She just turned 9.
9.
And-
Okay.
Yeah.
The difference is, Nicole had your kid like right before you really jumped off, and then you had your newborn like when you're really, really sober. And Krissi dropped a bombshell. I think Krissi was hoping that somebody else had a bombshell like she did on my show of like the baby coming out and it not being who she thought it was, the dad.
Yeah.
Noticeably, if you know. And she goes, "Oh yeah, I worked at that Mexican restaurant, and I relapsed." So you can do the math on how quickly she figured out.
But I figured it out. And then my ex-girlfriend like started dating the guy I thought it was. So she's like super close to me throughout this whole pregnancy because we think it's this guy's, but go and find out like my ex-boyfriend, who's pretty much been my boyfriend my whole marriage at this point. Isn't that awful? We had this one night I was just drunk and completely forgot that I made a stop on my way home from work with my suspected baby daddy. You know, I got drunk with him, and then that part just completely slipped my mind. And leave it to your toxic sister to be like, his nose.
His nose doesn't look like any of your noses.
Like, I just don't recognize the nose. But I love my sister for, she's done a lot for me. And she did pedicure my toes. She didn't mean any harm by that. But, somebody's got to keep it real.
So wait, the same sister that introduced you to stripping basically was the sister that blew up your spot about how your son definitely wasn't your baby dad's son.
Yeah, but she didn't do it intentionally.
Okay.
She was just like it's just funny. It's funny to me now. Maybe it's not funny, but
Well, no,
funny.
it is funny. No, we can. The further I feel like any kind of trauma, especially, the further we get away from something, the easier it is to laugh at it, and the more therapeutic it is to laugh at it. Because if you don't start laughing at it, it means it still has control over you. If you don't start laughing at it, it means it's still hurting you, and it still has that effect. But once you can laugh, it means that you're okay with it, you've accepted it, and it is what it is. And all I can do now is just laugh at the absurdity of my life was in that moment. Because if you don't start laughing at it, it's going to get really hard.
I do feel guilty. I've exploited my son, but he is amazing and just like me. And I manifested him in 6th grade when I was dating this guy named Josh, and he had this best friend who was like tall, dark, and handsome. And I'm like, I want a little boy that looks just like me, but looks like him. Like, he's so handsome to me.
I think one of my favorite things recently was, so Krissi was on about a month ago. We talked originally, and she told me that story about, because she worked at a Mexican restaurant, so the kid came out half Mexican. And so, but she tells me the story, and then I'm watching her on live like 2 weeks later, and your son comes running in the room, and he definitely looks like his father. And I started dying laughing because I immediately thought of, yep, that is definitely not his son. Thing. And I think I even DM'd you. I think I even messaged you after that because I couldn't stop like thinking about like how funny that was to me.
So funny. No, but my ex-husband, that is definitely his son. He's his daddy's son. My ex-husband is an amazing father to him. He doesn't treat him any different. I mean, like Amelia heard me say something about Ezekiel the other day, and she's like, "What do you mean by that?" And I haven't had that talk with them yet.
Your daughter.
Any of them.
Well,
Any
how
of
many
those
kids?
kids.
How many? How many of those kids? How many do you have again?
Two.
Two. And your daughter is younger or older?
Older. She's 9.
She's 9. Okay. And her dad helps you raise her and your son.
Yeah, he does. Like, he's an amazing dad. We do everything 50-50. Like, there's no child support in our divorce decree. We, switch
And that's who you
days.
live with, right?
I live with
Yeah, who's the guy that you live with?
When?
I saw a guy walk into your room the other night and talk to your son about, wanting candy or some shit.
Oh, he doesn't live with me. That's for another podcast if you're interested, ladies. That's my support system. That's my cameraman.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, okay. On that note, and it's almost like that thing of we're always finding different ways to recover and be happy and settled in our lives and be healthy and communicate. But yeah, that is so funny. That's right. I was watching that when your daughter said what, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Mexican," and your daughter said what, and you're like, "Nothing." You change the subject so fast. So
yeah, we are a little Spanish, but
now you are. Now you are. Either way, like between you, like you're all doing different things, but at the end of the day, you're all still doing things for yourselves. And those things for ourselves that used to be so self-fulfillment with just all about drugs and alcohol. And now it's definitely more about like how can I live comfortably without like the drugs and alcohol. What do you think, Nicole? Like I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna ask you all like, what do you all think is the most important thing for your recovery today to keep yourself sober and like happy in your head? Nicole, you can go first.
So for me, it would be like I'm a big advocate on counseling, talking to somebody who has no opinions on or like influences from anyone else that's around you. And then obviously family and friends, staying connected, and then like I guess like my kids, like when I feel down and I feel like, oh, I just want to give up, I look at them and I'm like, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot let them down again. I cannot let them go. Like, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere.
Because you have a 6-month-old now, and is that right around the time that you walked away the first time?
No. So my oldest daughter was like 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will say like from 6 months on is a very hard like stage until they like start walking and crawling. She's teething, she's crawling backwards, but she just wants to be so independent. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. So I'm like, I need a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the meeting. I'm glad you still have your meetings that you can hit, and talk. And plus, there's obviously huge everywhere on like Facebook. I know that's where we met originally.
Yes.
What about you, Ash? What are you doing all the time? Because you're always doing something. I know I always see a post about the nonprofit you're part of, and I know you're in a new relationship. Since the last time we talked, and I know how happy you are because you post about how happy you are every single day, and nobody posts how happy they are unless they're genuinely fucking happy. So besides the new relationship, has that had any kind of effect on your sobriety and meetings?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't live here, so he's like not here throughout the week. And that's when I go to my meetings is throughout the week. But I was gonna say the number one thing I do is make sure I take my mental health meds. Cause if I don't do that, then everything else really falls apart. And I was gonna say self-care. I always make sure I get my nails done. I take bubble baths all the time because that makes me feel good. But yeah, about my new relationship. Number one, he's sitting here, so he probably thinks we're weird with some of the shit we talk about. And
He's dating you. He already knows that you're fucking weird, actually. He already-
Well, this is how it is.
but like it's weird, like being in a healthy relationship, like not. I guess I don't know. Me, like I don't. Okay, like I'm crazy, but I'm not like an unhealthy crazy. You know what I mean? But like I always feel like I date dudes that are like crazy, like in relationships they're crazy and stuff, and then I'd be like, dang dude, like I take medication, like you need to take some medication, you know, but like it's not like that, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you finally decided to not date who you used to date, the same kinds of people. You know, it's like doing drugs over and over again. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna do crack instead of cocaine, or I'm gonna do cocaine instead of crack. It's like you're still getting fucked up. So maybe just don't do either. So I think you dating him is like you changing up a drug. It's you're not doing the bad drugs that are hurting you. You're doing the things that are fulfilling. You know, because I always see how you post how he is always doing things for you and not to you. And that's a huge difference, is that one word of for you. You know, he's always willing to help you and make sure you're good. And I think that having that support is a huge thing, because I know, Nicole, you have an amazing relationship now.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, with her talking about her relationship, like, I self-sabotage my relationship so much because he's such a good man and a good father and always there, and I'm like, something's going on. He's hiding something. I don't trust him. What's really going on? And I get in my head about it, and I self-sabotage all the time. And it's just like I'm trying to find how to build trust, because every man I've dated, and not even men that I've dated, but it all leads back to my father, like not being there, not being able to trust him, and being in relationships where they're like, oh, I love you, and then they're out sleeping with someone else. It's like, how do you go from being in these toxic relationships and only seeing men a certain way, and then going into a healthy relationship and trying to change your views on things? And it's so hard. Like, how do you do that? How do you find the trust? How, but yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so I didn't even put two and two together until I looked down. I was like, oh yeah, Nicole has a husband that's like a normie, and you know, was totally a game changer for her. So I know it is possible for you to change your and it is like, you know, the drugs, you know, the toxic relationship. Our drug of choice was a toxic relationship. The men that you dated were toxic relationships. So it's about finding a healthy, stable relationship with either your higher power or the steps or the rooms or meetings or cooking or yoga or whatever you're doing. It's about a healthy relationship and not doing it in a way that's self-detrimental, that's going to hurt you and take you out again, take you out of your head. And Ashlee, you're well on your way. Nicole, 6 months of proof is already down there crawling backwards that you're on your way. And what about what about you, Krissi? What are you doing for yourself? Like, you know, I know I already mentioned TikTok, but what else are you doing?
Yeah, staying connected, working on my nonprofit. I've been helping, well, I've been being accessible to a lot of survivors who just want to tell me
Tell
their
about your weekend
stories.
last week. Talk about last weekend for me. Tell them about
Last
last
weekend,
weekend.
last weekend was amazing. I was so nervous, as you probably can suspect, that I was like, oh my gosh, what if they don't like me? What if I don't like them? And it's funny because Tiffany kind of went through the same thing. Um, I had challenge after challenge with my car, getting my oil changed, and then they drilled it. I don't know what they did, but I need a new oil pan, so my car had to be towed on Friday night. My license expired on my birthday in November, so I couldn't rent a car. My friend's car was not an option because they're working on something. And I was so desperate. I reached out to my son's biological dad, like, can I borrow one of your 25 cars? Like, I asked him, do nothing. I have nothing to do with him. We're really good friends, like when we see each other. But I thought I wasn't making it to Columbus, and I'm like, you know what? I am gonna make it. I just
And
so
you
they
met
ended
with
up
survivors. You met with sexual assault survivors, right?
yes, Katie and Tiffany, who are actually the first two people I found on TikTok, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it was like
Their stories are so powerful. I'm letting them like their episodes are coming out Tuesday and Thursday because I interviewed them last week. But holy shit, the fact that, and then Krissi, we didn't even get into your shit yet
yeah,
because you just like blacked out and word vomited, like you said, and we still got to do a part two for stuff that we didn't even get into with you yet. So how was that kind of support in person as opposed to via TikTok like it had been or social medias?
it was live like 2K5. The goosebumps were real, the energy, the connection. We're like, you guys, we have to make TikToks because people, you know, we want to show people how far like being authentic and true and in recovery and with your support people how far it can go, but we were so connected in the moment. It was hard to focus, like, and then when we met up with Trashly and Jackie, it was they're seriously the most genuine sweet people that, I mean, you feel like you know people because you follow them. So we hung out and it was like nobody had a phone in sight in their hand. Like it was true, powerful connections. I can't even explain it. It was like, you know what, this is what being true to myself and admitting, hey, yeah, I I need to work on this. I need to stay sober because this is affecting this part of my life. Like all that, like you're in alignment with your life. You're gonna meet the people you need to meet.
Yeah, like
It
you
was
could
just
actually
so
see
magical.
it. It wasn't via your phone anymore. You were connecting with these women face to face and realizing, oh yeah, that's why I don't drink anymore. That's why I don't do drugs anymore. It's because of these connections are my drugs now. And I feel that even connected with all three of you, as I got to know all three of you, that's the shit that keeps me sober. My numbers aren't through the roof. I'm no Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm getting millions of people that listen to every episode, but I'm getting these messages from random people that they're watching and they're listening, and now they're sober and they're binge watching my show on YouTube, and I see that they are because I can see the numbers, and I see that they're watching one after another, just one view at a time. And to me, that's more powerful than having millions of people barely, scarcely watch you. I had and she's probably watching right now. I don't even know who she is, but all of a sudden I was tagged in the comments section of one of my favorite comedians, John Mulaney, and John Mulaney's doing like this giveaway, and it's a close by show he's doing, and it said if you know somebody that should have their own comedy special, tag them, and we're gonna pick a winner, blah blah blah. And this person tagged me and said they should name their special "This is an AA" with a question mark because that was my opener as a comedian. When I was walk up like, "Oh, I'm JD, I'm an addict. Oh, I'm in the wrong room," So, but they still thought of me, and then they commented under saying, "Sorry, I tagged you in this randomly, but I'm a huge fan of your podcast and I love what you do." And it's that kind of shit that keeps me going. But really, it's this right here that's not even out yet. This episode is not out and airing yet. But getting the chance to connect with people and talk to people is how I stay sober. Without having these constant connections, I did a 2-hour podcast before I even did this one with somebody else down in Florida. I'm going to talk to her for another hour tomorrow on her show on her Instagram. So, that's the kind of things that keep me sober. And honestly, I think you have COVID to thank for it, which is weird to say. But again, we couldn't do any of this pre-COVID. Like, talk about it. TikTok blew up during COVID. That's when people started really talking more about their, Krissi, in the last year or so, right?
Well, I'm one of those people, like when COVID happened, I was like, you, thank you, thank you for this time to be normal and live in this chaos where everyone's freaking out. And I told my therapist, I'm like, I just feel so at peace and relaxed. I've been waiting for civilization to fall. And she's like, you're just used to chaos, girl. But anyway, So everyone started doing TikTok. I couldn't do it because everyone was doing it. But this past September, August, that's when I was like, so you can do other stuff on TikTok besides, I don't know what I thought it was, but this wasn't that. I don't know.
Just people dancing and doing weird dances and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know what I thought it was. I thought it was a lot because it's
It is a
really
lot.
cool.
It is a lot. Let's be real though. It is a lot. And the algorithms are dead on though. And it's a scary thing. Like today's episode is this guy Josh, and he has to take breaks from TikTok because it shows him so much ADHD content that it gets into his ADHD head that it's like overwhelming for him, and he has to like just shut off the app for a little bit because he gets overwhelmed by it, which, the algorithms are pretty much spot on when you're going through there. You can try your best to curate, your own feed, but they're going to show you what you need to see in that moment because they're good. So connection, I think, is so important. I'm so glad we all got to connect for a little bit today. I know Chaos trying to get on here and figure it out, but, some of you like that kind of thing, talking to you up there. So, and I don't know how this is going to play out in the final grid. So either way, it could be confusing to the audience. But I'm so glad we all got the chance to sit down and talk, for a little bit and get to know each other more, because I talk to a lot of people, and, but still, whenever I hear certain things, they always like ring true, and they always remind me of other things. So, and as I kept hearing Ohio, 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 and like, I'm not even from fucking Ohio. I've only driven through Ohio. I've never even like been to I never even stayed in I've driven through Ohio like 9 times in my life, and I don't think I stopped one. I stopped one time, and that was like a Burger King. I was trying to have it my way. Besides that, besides that, I don't know anybody from Ohio, but yet I have some now really good friends in Ohio, and that I talk to all the time about recovery, and that, been really good guests on the show and returning guests on the show, and probably come back again. But it's about that connections that it makes me look forward to my sobriety. I don't look forward to getting fucked up anymore. I look forward. I know, Krissi, you were super excited to do this, and I know Ashlee, you were too. Like, I'm sure you were, Nicole. But I just talked to those two more because Ashlee, we're always just sending memes and shit. So, it's about that connection though. Even sending a meme to somebody is connecting. It's like, oh, I know this person's going to enjoy this. And instead of sending them drugs, you send them that dopamine hit of that laughter. And that's that kind of shit I get high off. And I make people laugh. And I did before, but now even more. Make people laugh and make them genuinely smile. Not smile because you're supposed to. We don't laugh anymore because we know we're supposed to. We don't smile anymore because we know we're supposed to. We genuinely are fucking happy now. And I think that's important to showcase to other people, is that we do recover. We are recovering every single day, and we're talking about it, and all 4 of us are recovering out loud. And, it's a really beautiful thing to be able to be like, no, this is who I am. That's who I was. I'm okay with who I was because who I was made me who I am.
Definitely.
All of us today wouldn't be who we are without our past experiences and our past traumas. A lot of those things teach us lessons that we don't know we need to learn. And some of us are so fucking stubborn, it takes us a long time to learn those lessons in the moment. But thank you so much again to all 3 of you. I really appreciate you taking the time and just sitting down and just bullshitting for an hour with me. I really appreciate it.
It's so fun. I love this, guys.
Have an awesome
nice
weekend, day, holidays, and hang in there. And if anyone wants to give out socials to be connected with people, and people want to reach out to anybody, I know I'll make sure the nonprofit stuff's definitely in the description for all of you. So yeah, just reach out to any of us. We're here to help. We genuinely like helping people. That's why we recover out loud, so people can see their story in us and be able to know that they can comfortably talk to us, because we've done some fucked up shit too. All 4 of us are not angels, but we hope to just help other people just to be more comfortable within their lives, because everyone does fucked up shit. No one's comfortable. But when you start meeting people like us that are just be like, nah, I was an asshole. No, I did that. Yeah, I was a piece of shit. I did that too. They're like, oh, I can say that and be okay. Like, yeah, it's okay. You can be your worst. But awesome. Thank you so much, girls. Have a great weekend and holiday and I think this will be out New Year's Eve or that week. So I'll let you all know before it comes out. Obviously, you guys know how I am by now. So have a great day.
Bye.
All right. Nice
See ya.
meeting you guys.
Bye.
Peace.